All right, team. So today we're going to be doing axles on a Toyota Camry 2011. So first thing we got to do is go ahead and get the tire off, get the center cap off, put the tire back on, and then we're going to loosen the axle nut that's just behind this. So let me get that all set up and we'll get this going. So breaker bar, 17 mil. Good little trick if it's stuck in there, hang it on the floor. It comes right out. All right, so one thing I did forget to mention is these are locking lug nuts. So there is a special key that you use. I was able to get the others off with the 17, but the key is pretty much the main thing that you want to use to get these off. So that on there. Make sure that's in all the way. Just like that. That's it. All right, team. So here's the axle. It's indented right here. So we're gonna get a punch in here, hammer that in to loosen up so we can have access to the bolt. Then we're gonna go put the tire back on, lower the vehicle, and then take the bolt off after that. So I'll be right back. All right, here on the indent, take a punch. We're gonna go ahead and punch it in, dude, to go ahead and loosen that right there. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. In there. Should help lubricate the threads and everything. There we go. It's a little easier. There you go, and that's it. Now, make sure that's free. Yes, it is. So that should be easy to take out. So, for example, how you guys saw me push that in, if it wouldn't go in, what you use is a punch, put it right here, and then hammer it on the end. It'll start moving backwards. But free. Pretty much the only place that really needs to do that is like areas that are heavy on moisture, snow, salt, you know, for the snow. But dry areas like Arizona shouldn't be an issue. So what we're gonna do now is the castle nut right here. We're gonna go ahead and remove that now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the steering wheel so this all moves that way. So that way we have better access to it. So I'm going to go do that and I'll be right back. All right, so here's the castle nut here. We're going to go ahead and get the cotter pin out. Some pliers. Let's twist it. Other side, same thing. Now, pull this out. Go. Now your new should have a new one of these. These are single use, you don't really use those again. But the way this is moving, yeah, this shouldn't be this easy to take off either. That's not torque to spec, so we're gonna make sure that that's done correctly when we go ahead and do it. So it's castle nut. And that comes right up. Now, you couldn't get if it's stuck in here, take the castle nut, flip it upside down, so that way it's upside down. Thread it back on where it's flush, just like this. Make sure it's flush there. Then what you can do is get a mallet and then hit it a few times and it'll release it. Now they do sell a tool that will do this as well, but I've never had any issues that way. So now that's loose. We're gonna move that off to the side. Now there's a reason why we're replacing the axle. With that bush, with this being broken, all kinds of dirt, debris, and all kinds of stuff will get in there. So that's not good. So we got to go ahead and actually take that out. So now what we got to do is separate the axle from the knuckle. Now the way we're going to do that is that here at the bottom, I don't know if you guys can see it right, but it's two here, should be a third. Yeah, a third one's right there. I'm gonna go ahead and release those, but what we're gonna do first is spray with some penetrating fluid. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'll get back with you guys. So first thing what we're gonna do, we're gonna remove the caliper out of the way, so that way we can go ahead and have better access to everything without worrying about damaging the brake line or the ABS sensor. So the two bolts we gotta take off with these two right here. They're 17 millimeter. All right, so the breaker bar, give it a little leverage. All right. There we go. Just make sure. Yep. Now the bottom. There we go. All right, so what I'm going to do now is take a screwdriver, compress the piston on the inside, just to get this separated a little bit easier to get it removed before we take it the rest of the way, the bolts the rest of the way off. There we go. Now let's get the bolts the rest of the way out. One. Now remember, once we take this last one out, it's going to want to fall, so you want to make sure you're ready for that. So just take your hand here at the bottom and hold it. And two. Remove this. And then while you have this out, just kind of look at the brakes, make sure there's still some meat on them, so that way if you do need to replace the brakes, you should be good, but these look good. So I'm gonna go grab a bungee, and then we're gonna support the caliper by the suspension, so that way there's no pressure on the fuel line. So I mean on the brake fluid line. So let me grab that and I'll be right back. All right, team, so I got the bungee. We're gonna go ahead and get this tied up so it doesn't go anywhere. Always want to be safe. obviously when you put it up, you want to make sure it's out of the way, so that way you don't have to keep moving it. There we go. Now it's nice and secure right there, out of the way. There's no stress on the line here. So now we can go ahead and keep moving on this job. So now that those are removed, now we're going to take the rotor off. Again, if you're in an area where it's real rusty or whatever, might take a little time to go ahead and get that off, but you will be able to get it off. Okay, so for now we'll go ahead and move this off to the side. All right, so like how I mentioned before, there's 3 bolts down here at the bottom. One here, one directly on the other side, and then right here. Now everything, you have to get it from the bottom. I believe there's 17s. Let's see. Yep, 17s. So let me see if I can go ahead and get you guys a good angle on that real quick. All right, so right here's the 2, here's the 1. Like I said, these are 17s. Like the axle nut, I did spray some penetrating fluid on here just to get it loosened a little bit. Again, it shouldn't be that tight, but I am going to use a breaker bar to get it off. Oh, let me go ahead. Looks like they are pretty tight, so you can get a cheater bar. So a cheater bar is just an extra piece of pipe. I'm going to go ahead and put on the end here just to give me a little more leverage. If I can That's one. Two. And three. So now what you're going to do, lower control arm, you're going to go ahead and push down if you can. It's a little hard. Use a pry bar. There's a hole. So you see the hole that's here, there's another hole right on top. So go ahead and put that in there. Push down. First thing, let's turn this. Let's go ahead and get the outer control rod out, so we can move this a little freer. There we go. Now, go ahead and pry these down and out, and it's free. So now, just lift the knuckle up a little bit, just not putting too much pressure on anything, just to get this out. And there it is. Now the axle is out. What we do is turn this that way, just to give us a little more room. So obviously now we have this part out. Now it's going into the inside. And going from there. So let's get under the car real quick, and then I'll get you guys, we'll get back with you guys once I'm down there. All right, team, so here we are under the car. There's the passenger side tire. So what we need to do is get this retainer clip out. So we'll do is squeeze it and then move it forward. It's loose, so there shouldn't be any difficulty with rust or anything like that. And then what we're gonna do from there is get a punch and start punching this that way, because we're gonna get this part of the transmission. See if I can zoom in a little bit better. Anyway, so we can get this out of the transmission. Now once we get this out, fluid might be coming out of the transmission, so make sure you have a catch can ready for this once you get it out. So right, and then also we got to take this bolt out. It's pretty much what holds it all in place. So first let's go ahead with the pliers. There we go, snap right out. Now again, if you're in an area where it's all rusty and everything like that, the other way to do this, because most of the time this will be rusted in place and you won't be able to get it out, is to take this bolt off here, and then there's two more on the top. So then you'll essentially will take this whole assembly out, and then you'll be able to remove it all that way from there. But we were able to go ahead and get this off of here, no problem. So now we'll see if maybe might be able to just use the pry bar back here. Let's see if we can maybe pull it out, which it is, surprisingly. And there you go. Now that's out. So what we're gonna do next is pull it out the rest of the way, and then we're gonna do a comparison with the new one and the old one. So I'll be right back. One thing before we do the comparison, you wanna make sure that this seal isn't broken, tattered, still soft, not hard. So this is the seal. So if this is damaged, you'll have a transmission leak from here. So, but this one seems okay. It's very pliable still and everything like that. So what we'll do before we put the new one in, we'll clean it with a shop towel, and then just to make sure it's all nice and clean before we go ahead and get the new axle in. All right, team, so here we go. Here's the old one and the new one comparison. They all look the same. The only things, we'll have to reuse the retainer clip because the new one doesn't come with it, but that's nothing. It's easy stuff there. Again, here's a closer look on why we're replacing it. Doesn't look like there's much grease left in there. So let's go ahead and get down there, and what I'll do is I'll link in the description, I'll link give you a link on where you can go ahead and get one of these. Be a little easier to go ahead and get food from there. So let's go ahead and get this going. So before we do anything, I'm gonna go ahead and put some white lithium grease here, just to make it a little easier to move around and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and do that. Don't need to put a lot, just enough to slide it and grease it through the whole thing, just like that. I'm gonna take this and get it inside the transmission where it goes. All right, so now we're gonna slide this in. This is heavy, so just take your time in getting it in there. First, give it a roll. And then as you're putting it into the transmission, you want to make sure that it doesn't hit that seal. So now that we have it in place here, let's go down to the bottom here and line it up right. All right, team, I got it in place. It's all the way in. Now, if you're having a hard time getting it in here, probably the splines on the inside of the transmission and the axle aren't lining up. So what you want to do is go and just kind of rotate this little by little as you're pushing it in lightly, and then once it lines up, it'll snap right in. So now it's in there. Have the retainer clip in place. Now there's grooves on the inside of this this mounting bracket here. You want to make sure all the way around that this is in place, which it is. It's not going anywhere. It's tied in place. So now all it is getting everything back together. It's all done, and then we'll come over and do the passenger side, which is, to be honest, a little easier. There's no bracket there to kind of hold it in place, so we'll go ahead and take care of this. Let me get out there and get it all together. All right, so as you can see, we're here at the front part of it. It does come with a new axle nut. These things are pretty much one-time use, since you have to go ahead and punch it in. So once you go ahead and punch it in and then punch it back out, it weakens this area here. So you punch that in, so that way this axle nut doesn't come out from there. So you want to make sure that you always get a new axle nut. You never want to reuse these. So here's the new one here. So now what we're going to do, we're going to push this in a little bit, get it through the knuckle. Then we're going to go ahead and tighten these bolts here. So let's get this started. This, line it up. Now if your splines don't line up, what you can do is just rotate the hub here, and then it'll go ahead and line it up. First, I want to make sure that this is straight. I'm going to push down on the control arm so we can get the knuckle in the rest of the way. Actually, Get the pry bar and pull that down. So we can get that in there. All right, so we got it all the way in. So we can take the nut, get it on here. Go. Tighten it by hand. That way that's not going anywhere. And then now, control arm down. So you can get this in here. Line it up. And get it in place. And now we'll go ahead and tighten these up. Okay. So now those are in there good. So what we'll do now, so as you can see here, it's a divot. We're gonna go ahead and once we torque this, we'll go ahead and punch that into the canal right there. So that way there's no way this nut will back out from there. So this back. Now let me go ahead and get the torque wrench and torque everything to spec. All right, so the torque spec for this is 217 foot-pounds. Here we go. Now we'll get the punch. Just like that. Now it's indented. Now that's not going anywhere. So now you can go ahead and get the tire back on, lower it, and then this side is all done. Now we'll go ahead and torque the bottom, which is 27 foot-pounds. All right, so 27 foot-pounds. Line it up. Okay. get the rotor on. Rotor's on. Now the center clip here, make sure that's on there. It's good. What I'll do is get one of the lug nuts just to stabilize it. Get it on. All right, now with the lug nuts lugged on, this isn't going anywhere. Now we can go ahead and get this in place. Just take your time and line it up. Here we go, got the first one in. Now we'll get the second one in. Okay. That's snuggled on. Let's do the bottom. Better. All right, so these will get snugged up to 36 foot-pounds. Alright, so now all it is, this little ring goes here, then get the tire on, lower the vehicle, and then put the lug nuts on. And then we'll go to the other side and take care of that. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and torque down the castle nut, which is 36 foot-pounds with an 18 millimeter. see. So now, don't see the hole. So it's okay to go ahead and torque it some more so you can line up and see that hole. Alright. Alright team, so here's the passenger side. I'm sorry, the driver's side. I said a lot smaller than the passenger side, only because the transmission is more on the driver's side. But everything matches up. New cast one up there. Now the only difference, this has this like little clip here. You want to make sure that yours has it as well, the new one. That's what actually keeps the axle inside of the transmission. So let's go ahead and get it all back together. So instead of the rubber mallet, what I had to do, make sure the axle nut there is flush, and then banged it in with the hammer here. So but now it's in there tight. Now it's just reassembling. So let's go ahead and get this going. Right, so let me get this back together, guys, and then I'll be right back. So essentially, team, is the same process as the passenger side, making sure everything is torqued down to spec and everything is put back together the proper way. So if by chance this helped out at all, guys, please give me a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. I'll have some more things coming down the line. So until then, on to the next.